Hey, now then guys, how you doing? Back on the rocks again. I'm Dave Lemieux here to talk about Dave's Picks Volume 43, as you probably know. If you can see behind me, let's see if I can point to it right there. There's an eagle. See him sitting on the rocks? Probably eating something. And I'm a little wonky. I don't know if you knew, but I broke my foot, and so I'm still in a cast. So it's kind of debilitating, but I'm able to get down on the rocks at least. So I'm here to talk about Dave's Picks 43. If you're watching this, you probably know what it is. You probably saw it. It is two virtually complete shows from 1969. I say virtually complete, we'll get to that in a minute. So we haven't done anything from this era in quite some time, going back to the Dave's Picks from January 1970 at the Fillmore East in New York City at the beginning of 1970. Started the 70s nice and strong. And I've had my eye, or my ears I should say, oh, eagle's still there. I've had my eyes and my ears on 1969 for quite a while to do a Dave's Picks. And it's been I won't say a challenge, it's a good challenge I guess, because the shows I've had in mind, I had a couple earlier in the year that I was looking at, and then a couple much later in the year, which is what we've ended up going with. And there's two shows in particular that I've always had. I mean, I've got quite extensive notes that I've taken over the years of listening, and I've got two shows in particular that are quite short. Usually, obviously, our Dave's Picks are 3 CDs, or sometimes 4. But generally, they're 3 CDs, a complete show. In this case, these shows were a little short. I mean, they didn't fill 3 CDs. So I think I had an internal bias against them as a possible Dave's Picks. I always loved the shows. I love the performances. But I was like, how do we make this work was really more it. And then with a lot of kind of, I won't say, we didn't edit the music, obviously, but kind of fitting things together like a puzzle, we ended up getting both shows complete. Well, again, virtually complete on the 3 CD set. We'll get to that in a minute. So it's 2 shows again. You probably know this by now. So the first one is November 2nd, 1969 at the Family Dog at the Great Highway in San Francisco, Chet Helms' venue. And then the second show is about, 7 weeks later, 8 weeks later, December 26th, day after Christmas, December 26th, 1969 in Dallas, Texas at Southern Methodist University, McFarland Auditorium. 2 incredible shows. Again, shows that I've always really loved for very similar, but also in a lot of ways very different reasons. Performance quality across the board, outstanding. Oh, Stan the Eagle's still there. Performance quality, absolutely terrific. But for this era of 1969 Grateful Dead, it hits everything you'd want. Now, if you're listening to the earlier stuff, I had my ears on some earlier 1969 material that was much more in the vein of Live Dead. Whereas, and I mean, I've mentioned this before, and I've used the phrase transitional dead. When you talk about kind of May, June of 1969, a few things changed. Jerry started playing pedal steel on stage with the Grateful Dead and then the New Riders. Bob started bringing in a lot more countrified songs. Mama Tried and Me and My Uncle became staples of the repertoire. Slewfoot, Silver Threads and Golden Needles, all sorts of things like that. The acoustic stuff, which we'll get to in a minute, very important element of 1970 Dead, creeping in at the end of 1969. And then you've got all of the new material that was Working Man's Dead material that started creeping in June of 1969. High Time, Dire Wolf, Casey Jones came in, and as the year went on, Cumberland, Uncle John's Band Black Peter in early December of 1969. So it's an incredible, again, I use the phrase transitional dead because the Grateful Dead of February, March, April of 1969 is very different from the November, December that you're going to hear on this one. A good indicator, and we'll get to we'll talk about this now. There are 2 complete, nice, big, well over 20-minute versions of Darkstar on this release. 1 from each show. And these are the Darkstars that go into very melodic territory, similar, and when I say that, I think the quintessential example from this era is 21370. they don't quite hit those peaks of the jam on the 21370 Darkstar, but they do hit some incredible moments that are melodic as opposed to straight up psychedelic, blow the roof off the place. So each show has a Darkstar as its centerpiece. One goes at the Family Dog Show on November 2nd goes into the live dead suite of Darkstar, St. Stephen the 11, and Death Don't Have No Mercy. The other one, not the other one, but the other Darkstar goes into New Speedway Boogie, which again had debuted a week before the Dallas show. Not even a week before. A week before. So New Speedway is an interesting song. Fascinating. Altamont happened in early December of 1969, and within 2 weeks, Jerry and Robert Hunter had written, inspired by the fallout of Altamont, they'd written New Speedway Boogie and debuted it live with the Grateful Dead at a Fillmore Auditorium show in right before Christmas. And then here we are in December 26th with a great version of it here as well. There's so much great material on this. I don't know where to start. So I'm not going to run through everything, but I will say everything you'd expect from late 1969 Grateful Dead is here. The newer material that would appear on Working Man's Dead. They hadn't really started creeping in the American Beauty stuff quite yet. A lot of that is here. A load of Pigpen, like a whole bunch. In the Midnight Hour, Good Lovin', Next Time You See Me, Turn On Your Love Light, Big Boss Man. There's a lot of wonderful Pigpen on here. There's a great version of Dancing in the Street, Good Lovin'. Good Lovin'. There's a great version of Dancing in the Street on here with the requisite jam that you'd expect from it. This is a case where the archival sleuthing, Jeffrey Norman did some deep digging into the tapes. We'd always had the reel-to-reel tapes from both of these shows. We'll get to that in a minute too, the recording. The Dancing in the Street had always had a cut at the end, missing the last couple of minutes, but Bear, genius that he was in a lot of ways, recorded not only to reel tape, but he also recorded to cassette tape. So we were able to fix the Dancing in the Street from 11/2/69 with the cassette master of the same show. So you're not missing anything, which is great. Owsley recorded both shows, and as we know, Bear's recordings, I mean, the Dead have a history, thankfully, of incredible recordists. Betty, Bear, Kid, Rex, Healy, and then with the multi-tracks, John Cutler, Bob and Betty, Bob Matthews as well. So an incredible history of recordings, thank goodness, that we're now able, 30, 40, 50, this is 53 years old, this music. We're able to check it all out. And we're very, very fortunate to have so many great recordings thanks to them. But Owsley recorded these. We worked closely with Hawk and Starfinder over at the Owsley Stanley Foundation. And check that out, by the way. Check out the Owsley Stanley Foundation. Always fun to work with them. And so terrific sounding recordings, really wonderful sounding recordings. So the Family Dog Show, it's a hometown, it's a San Francisco show in early November, and then a week later, as you probably remember, Dick's Picks, Volume 16, 1999, came out 23 years ago. That was from 11/8/69, a week later at the Fillmore Auditorium. This is a similar yet different show, which is the same energy, but obviously a very different set list, and it's the Grateful Dead, so every show is very, very different. So that show is incredible. Now, right after Christmas, the Dead headed east, which is it. Well, they headed to Texas, and then they went up, and they did their only ever New Year's show outside of the state of California, and that was in Boston. So that's where they did a couple of shows. They closed out the year with a few shows in Boston, and then January 1st they had the day off, and then January 2nd and 3rd they played the Fillmore East in New York City. That's the aforementioned Dave's Picks that we kind of talked about. So the second show, the McFarland Auditorium. Now this is very, very special. This is, and this is absolutely not, we always pick our shows based on great performance quality. All the other stuff is bonus. Cool set list, something unique, a one-off, whatever it is. In this case, this is very special. The performance quality of the whole show, magnificent. The Dallas show I'm talking, December 26th. This is the first full, I think it's 7, 8 songs. It's the first full Grateful Dead acoustic set. And it is magnificent. And remember, acoustic sets, throughout 1970, when you would go see an evening with the Grateful Dead, they called it, it would be an acoustic set maybe, and then the New Riders would rip it up with an electric set, and then the Dead would come on and do the electric set. So a great example of that is May 2nd of 1970 at Harper College. The wonderful acoustic set, and then that incredible electric stuff, and the New Riders were at that show as well. This show has a full acoustic set, which again, it would be a defining feature of 1970 Grateful Dead, but now it was. Now, I will preface this, caveat it, whatever you want to call it. 2 months earlier, at the end of October, the Dead were playing at Winterland, and I think Phil was running late or wasn't quite there yet or whatever it was, and Jerry and Bob came out and did 4 little acoustic numbers. I think the whole thing lasts 18 or 20 minutes or something. So I guess that would be the first real acoustic set, but it's a short little thing. This one is a much more fully developed, where other band members start joining in with them before they kick into a magnificent electric set. Really great electric stuff. It's great hard to handle in this show in Dallas once it gets going. But I will say what happened is, because they make some announcements from the stage, I guess the band flew in from California on the 26th or maybe the 25th. I don't know. But Billy came separately, and he was running his plane. They announced it many times. Billy's plane was still in the air. It was about to land, but he wasn't there yet. So that's when Jerry and Bob came out and started doing an acoustic set. A couple other band members joined them. And that's why, I mean, similar to what happened at the end of October with the acoustic, the 4-song acoustic set, it was because a band member was, I don't want to say missing, but wasn't quite there yet. And so they did that little acoustic set in October. This one, they do a much more fully developed, and it is wonderful. This is, to me, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. It is it's a piece of music. It's a 40 minutes, maybe, half hour, 40 minutes of Grateful Dead music that would set them up for what 1970 looked like, with so many wonderful acoustic sets throughout the year. That became part of an evening with the Grateful Dead. So we get this acoustic set, then we get a whole bunch of really amazing electric Grateful Dead music. I won't go song by song, but I will say the hard to handle, top notch, and the Darkstar, similar to the one on disc, was it disc 2, I guess. It's fully melodic, it's fully developed, and it's beautiful. And the sound, it's interesting. It's the day after Christmas, okay? So I don't think the crowd, it wouldn't have been a huge crowd. That is one thing. And the second part, it's in Dallas, which isn't exactly in 1969 a Grateful Dead hotspot. So the crowd is very low key. It's the day after Christmas. Maybe they ate all their turkey and they've got the tryptophan nap. But I think it was a small crowd, and you can, at times you can hear a pin drop, and they even make funny announcements about it, like, come on guys, make some noise. It's pretty funny. But where I find it particularly beautiful is during Darkstar, during some of the very quiet passages of Darkstar, when you can almost hear a pin drop. And I mean, the audience is clearly there and probably with their jaws on the floor, but the Dead were doing some absolutely wonderful things. If you get a chance, take a look at this venue online too. It's a wonderful looking venue. So that's where the Dead played this night in Dallas. So you get this great Darkstar, but instead of going to St. Stephen and the 11 and all that, they go into New Speedway Boogie. And then after that, after the song ends, then they do Turn On Your Love Light to wrap things up. So incredible stuff, incredible music. We haven't done a 1969 release in the Dave's Pick series for quite a while, so we're very happy about that. Now, when I started this, I talked about 2 complete shows, and I think I said virtually complete. You might remember last year, we did that great Deer Creek show, or 2 shows, sorry, on 4 CDs, the 2 Deer Creek 1990 shows. And we packed everything we could onto those 4 CDs. And unfortunately, one song, the encore from the second show, would not fit. That was US Blues. But as promised, we put it on the next release. So we did end up getting it out, which was, I mean, kind of our point in doing it. We want to make sure that when we're trying really hard to give you complete shows, if it doesn't quite fit, we'll make up for it by getting that complete show to you in another way, whether it's the next release. And that's what we're doing here. So Dave's Picks, so the release opens with Cold Rain and Snow from the Family Dog show November 2nd. There's another Cold Rain and Snow later in the Dallas show that we figured if we need to cut one song, and we only had to cut about 5 or 6 minutes total, we figured if we're going to do that, it should be a repeated song, and Cold Rain and Snow seemed like the one. There are many repeats actually, which is quite fascinating. We weren't going to cut one of the Darkstars, I'll tell you that. So Cold Rain and Snow was kind of, I hate to say, an easy choice, but it was, because we didn't want to cut any songs that were only played once, because then you'd be missing a song title and you'd have 2 Cold Rain and Snows, but you'd be missing Hard to Handle. That didn't make sense. So we cut Cold Rain and Snow from the Dallas show. My cat scratched me. We've put it on, we will be putting it on, I believe we're going to sneak it onto Dave's Picks Volume 44, the one that will come out in November. So you will get both shows complete if you end up picking up Dave's Picks 44 or you subscribed. So it's just one of those little things that we can do, so we do. Anyhow, I guess that's all I have to say. If you're watching this, head to dead.net. The Dave's Picks have tended to sell out anything from 1 day to 5 or 6 days. And I don't want to say 5 or 6 days and then have you wait and then it's gone. And this is a hot show, or two hot shows. So you are going to want to check it out. It's everything that you want from 1969 Grateful Dead. It's everything you want from Grateful Dead music, which is to say incredibly high energy, incredibly well played, incredibly well recorded. Thank you, Bear. And the music is really top notch. Again, I want to say a huge thanks to Jeffrey Norman, actually. I always say thanks to Jeffrey Norman. But I had my eye on these 2 shows for a long time, but as I mentioned earlier, I'd always had a bit of a rough time wondering how we were going to do it when each show only clocks in at about a CD and a half of music. And so Jeffrey was working on some of Bear's tapes about a year ago, and he said, "Hey man, I was backing up this great show from 11/2/69." He said, "Do you know it?" I said, "I do know it. I haven't listened to it in a little while, so I went back that night and listened to it, and I'd forgotten how great it was. I hadn't forgotten, but I think I was reinvigorated to make it work somehow." And that's when it occurred to me, in looking through other notes and I had another note about the Dallas show saying incredible performance, slightly truncated set list show. And so that's when I kind of started doing some timings, and Jeffrey and I worked together. So I want to thank Jeffrey for kind of hipping me and reminding me how great this show is and having me go back and listen a year ago that got us into production, which here we are a year later with an amazing 2-show release on our hands. The liner notes are really cool. I don't know. It's myself talking with Hawk and Starfinder about archiving, and it's about archiving Grateful Dead tapes and how we work collaboratively with the Bear, with the Owsley Stanley Foundation to make this stuff happen. So I think it's a fascinating read. Not my part, just it's a fascinating story how Bear's tapes came to be and how they came to be 53 years later, still in great shape and able to do this. So again, I will encourage you to go check out the Owsley Stanley Foundation. It's an amazing foundation of what they do. It's a nonprofit that preserves Bear's tapes. So the eagle is still right there. That's amazing. They usually fly off after a while. But and there's some geese. No, oh, they're geese. There's some geese. See them? There's some geese there too. So I am going to get off these rocks because they're a little bit. I'm kind of on this gravelly stuff. Again, broken foot cast that's making standing on this a little bit dicey. And the last thing I want to do is slip and break the other one. So anyhow, thank you for watching, and we will have another, I think we're gonna have a couple videos soon. We've got some other stuff going. We have a lot going on, actually. This is exciting. And we've actually started work on some 2023 projects and some good stuff coming up. So thank you. I've got my little remote control here. Remember we talked about this? So I'm gonna try and hit this button and see if I can make this turn off. Thanks for watching. Head over to dead.net, November 2nd, 1969, December 26, 1969, across the country, San Francisco and Dallas, Texas. 2 incredible shows. If you like Darkstar, there's 2 on here, but all the other stuff that makes late 1969 Grateful Dead music special, it's all on here. So do check it out. I'm gonna hit the button, see if I can shut it off. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you here actually very soon, because I'm going to be shooting another one of these probably today, later today or tomorrow, about another thing that you're going to want to hear about. Thanks a lot. We'll see you around.